I got the key to the highway, filled out and bound to go. I'm gonna leave here running, 'cause walking is way too slow. Hey, this is Papo Jim. Key to the Highway. I've heard it a couple of different ways. Little Walter originally, and Freddie King. Eric Clapton plays a version of it. It's a nice song. I like it a lot. It's easy to play. It's not your standard blues shuffle type of song, 1, 4, 5. There's a little bit of a twist to it. We'll go into that when I do the chords. That's mostly what I want to talk about today. Also, I'm starting to take emails at my email address at jim@papogyms.com. If you have any ideas for any lessons or any feedback, greatly appreciated. Thanks. If you miss any of the videos here, you can also see them at YouTube under Papo Gyms, P-A-P-O-J-I-M-S. So anyway, let me switch the camera around and we'll get into it. Hey, this is Jim again. Let's get into this Key to the Highway, some of these chord progressions. One of the things I described in the previous shot was it's not quite the standard 1, 4, 5 blues progression. This is 1, 5, 4. So it starts on the A. I'm just going to use the shuffle to start with and then show you some other chords that I like to use. Starts with the A. I have my pointing finger on the 4th string at the 2nd fret. The A rings open, the 5th string, and I have my ring finger on the 4th fret of the 4th string. So let me just alternate that back and forth. This might be a newbie to you. You've heard it a lot. Maybe it's old news, but just to review. Just a simple shuffle. You can change speeds. You've heard it a bunch of different ways. Sometimes people slide the flat 7 into it. Okay, so I like that shuffle. Played a lot of different ways. 1, 5, 4. So we start with the A, then we go to the 5. It's right next door. The 6 rings open. It's the E. I have my pointing finger on the 5th string at the 2nd fret. Same position on my ring finger on the 4th to get the E shuffle sound. Just a little bit of review. Let's go back to the A. A lot of people from here would take it right to the 3rd string at the 2nd fret and let the D ring open, the 4th string. Normally the way you hear that played is okay. So the way we're going to play it today for Key to the Highway is to start on the A. Got the key to the highway to the E. And then just for this example, go to the D shuffle. Build out and bound to go. I gotta leave here running, 'cause walking is way too slow. Then a little turnaround back to the E. Okay, so this song only has one form. I've heard it 3 or 4 different ways with 3 or 4 verses, but that's the same form over and over again. So to break it up, what I like to think about doing is I like to keep the shuffle going, because that's my motion. That's my A. I like to keep that E going too. But I like to replace the D shuffle with a, I've heard it called a country D7 or a folk D7. If you make your normal D7 and the first top 3 strings, 1, 2, and 3, sounds like that, and you're just playing the top 3 strings, I want to get some bass resonating in here. So a country 7, D7, it's also written as a D7 sharp F. I'm going to bring my middle finger over to the 6th string, 2nd fret to get that F sharp. Then I'm going to bring my ring finger and replace it where I had it before on the 3rd string, second fret, and I'm going to keep my pointing finger at home on the C, on the B string. So, and I'm going to leave the E open, and I like to let that ring out because it's part of the key of A, so it sounds appropriate. I like to have things resonate when I want to get that kind of a delta sound. So anyway, I'm just going to strum through this, and then we'll replace it in our shuffle and see what it sounds like. There's the F sharp. A little dissonant on the top, but let's try it with the shuffle and see what it sounds like. So I'm going to replace the D part of the shuffle with that chord. So start out with the A again. I'm picking up the C and hammering it back on just for a little motion. Once again. Has a bigger sound than that shuffle. You can hammer on the B to the C on the second string, and since the E's part of the key on both ends, on the sixth string you can leave it open initially and hammer on at the second fret to make that F sharp sound. You can try both of them, you don't want to get too busy, but back to the A, back to the E, little turnaround with the E, back to the A, to the E, back to the A, and then the little turnaround at the end. Take a little stab at it. Upstrokes. So, okay, so we can do a standard shuffle number one. You can do, you can play it the second way with the A shuffle, the E shuffle, and then replace it with that D7 with the F sharp and the bass. And you can play it that way. You can alternate those back and forth on the 4 verses. It makes it interesting. I'm just going to add a couple other chord progressions I like to replace in there to make it interesting. If I go up to the 5th fret on the second string with my pointing finger, and I go to the 3rd string on the 6th fret with my middle finger, and I go to the 7th fret on the 4th string with my ring finger, I'm just going to pluck those 3 strings that I have fretted. That's an inversion of an A chord at the 5th fret. If I let my thumb slide over here on the bass, I can play that too. But let's just worry about these 3 strings right here for right now. That's my 1. You can probably make an F shape. You've probably made that as a movable chord. But I just want to play these 3 strings, this 3 string triad, because my 5th position, which is going to be the E, it kind of looks like a D chord. I'm just coming up from the 5th fret to the 4 and 5 frets. With my pointing finger, I'm on the 3rd string on the 4th fret. With my middle finger, I'm on the 5th string of the 2nd fret, or 5th fret of the 2nd string, excuse me. And with my ring finger, I'm going to go over to the 4th string at the 6th. So that's my E sound, and that's my E shape that's movable for this inversion. So I have the A, I have my E shape, and then at the 7th fret on those same 3 strings, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings, I'm going to make a mini bar. That's my D shape sound, or that's my D shape and that's my D sound, sorry, excuse me. Back to the A, my E shape, back to the A. I move that around to that different position just to get a different tone or register. Here's the A on the kind of a ringing sound, has those big open strings, open sound. Okay, so that's a different position. Probably some of you are already thinking ahead, or if you're doing a little bit of homework in your head, if I slid this up to the 7th fret on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings to make my D shape, And E shape should be the same shape, a step apart, a full step. Here's a half a step. And then now I'm at 9. That's an E shape. So you can also go this way. Okay, it's a little different. So we got the original shuffle. Got the original shuffle with A and the E, and then I replaced it with the D7 with the F and the F sharp in the bass on the 6. We talked about moving up to the 5th position at the 5th fret and making an A shape on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Little triad. Making an E. Making a D at the 7th on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Okay, so that's kind of a cool sound. Real quick, I want to add in a couple, and you can work on those over and over again. You can move them around to different keys. They work in a lot of different keys, depending on the tone you want to make or the register you want to hear, or the vocalist that's working with you. Let's take a look at this F shape E at the 5th. That's another shape you can make. It's kind of big. I like to let that E on top ring out. But if we go to the 7th fret on the 4th string and just walk down to the 9th fret on the top 3 strings, and you make a D7 shape, you can make little stabbing triplet sounds on at the 9th, the 8th, the 7th, and then resolve to the A. You hear that a lot in delta sounds or early blues sounds. And when I say a little stab or a little triplet, sometimes people make a stab. Won't be a full triplet. The blues is pretty flexible about as far as all the different styles of music in the world. The blues has a general framework, but people take a lot of liberty in it. So you can make proper triplets if you want. Or you can make little stabs. Whatever nuances you give it is your own flavor. That's what makes it interesting. So anyway, that's a couple of frets up from the F shape. I'm making an A in the F shape at the 5th fret. I go up to the 9th, and I'm making the D7 shape, but the sound that it makes at this fret is a A7 sound. So, and I'm just walking it down. People can use that for an opening. You hear that a lot in songs as an opening. You can also close out the song with it. You might incorporating it into a turnaround. It depends on how you like to play it. While I'm on that little D7 shape, and I did this in a previous video on some different triads I like, rooted on the 6th string, if I'm at the 3rd fret, that's the C. If I'm at the 5th fret, I'm in D. And if I'm at the 7th fret on the 5th string, my root's in E. I can make that same little D7 shape at the 7th fret just with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th strings. Has a little bit of a jazzier sound to it, but it's a 7. Sometimes I like to turn this around by doing this. I'm going to play the whole form for you. Back to the A. Lot to work with. Big lesson for the weekend. You have plenty of time to work on it. Any feedback would be great on it. Jim@papojims.com. And also I have videos at YouTube. Papo Jim. It's Papojims. So anyway, thanks a lot for listening today. Have a nice weekend. Look for you next week. Thanks.